Hello and welcome back to another session of Current Affairs for interview of APSC CCE, which is going to be held very shortly after a declaration of results. So today we have gathered once again to continue our journey. So interview is a very you can say undefined field. Anything under the sun is supposedly the syllabus of the interview, but if we look very carefully and if we learn from our past experiences of previous toppers, previous people who have faced interview, and based on what the syllabus the APSC and UPSC provides, we can take some guidelines, and especially after the coming of the GS paper 4 ethics, it has certain clear mandate that what they are looking for in a civil servant. A civil servant has to have certain values which are sine qua non, you can say. Like you cannot get a civil servant who is not portraying those values, or who will be able to deliver their service properly without those values. So values, as plain and simple as it is, but sometimes it is difficult to decipher such simple terms. But in GS4 we have learned that values means anything that we give worth to, যিবিলাক বস্তুক আমি গুৰুত্ব দিওঁ, মূল্য দিওঁ, যিবিলাক বস্তুক সেইবিলাককে ভ্যালুজ বুলি কয়। সো আমাৰ জিএস পেপাৰ 4ত সিলেবাসত এটা টপিক আছে, foundational values of civil services. So ইয়াত যিকিটা values দিয়া আছে, the values given in this syllabus forms the core of your personality as a civil servant, and interview to আপোনালোকৰ সেই বস্তুকিটা আছে নে নাই হেতুৱে পৰীক্ষা কৰে through your answers. So although you might have studied properly before mains, but it is pertinent to recall those values at this moment while we embark on the interview preparation. So there is a link, there is a very organic link between the values, and we will try to establish certain ideas of governance or ideas of how public administration is conducted from these values itself. The change in public administration can also be reflected in these values. You just be with me. The first value that is highlighted in the syllabus is integrity. It is although it looks to be a very plain term. In fact, if I remember correctly, there was once a question in UPSC mains GS paper 4 that I am paraphrasing the quote of Warren Buffett. He said something in the lines of, you can recruit anybody with skill or without skill, but you cannot actually recruit anybody without integrity, because if you recruit anybody without integrity, then it might lead to collapse of your organization. So it is a foundational value. So we should be very clear what integrity means. Is it honesty? Yes, it means honesty, but it includes something else also. You can say it's honesty plus. One definition is like, obviously somebody is honest, but you are something more than honest. So your answers, your approach to how you are tackling the questions in interview should reflect honesty, but it also has to have certain integrity, like something else. So what is the difference? Actually, see, when you are encountering certain miscreant people or certain bad elements of the society, they also may depict honesty in their behavior. Say for example, a thief, he might be an honest thief, but the act that he is doing is unethical, obviously. So his act, or he might be honest to himself that he is doing his work properly, whatever the job he has chosen, but in terms of higher scales of integrity, he will not stand the test of he will not stand that test. Okay, so when we say somebody is a person of integrity, that means two things: he has to be honest, plus he has to do the right thing. Okay, so when you are facing the interview board, your answers should not only be honest, it should also be the right thing to do. The right ethical decision should be the solution that you are giving. Okay, so that is one interpretation of honesty. Another interpretation of honesty is that your thought, what you think, what you believe, there should be no mismatch between your thought and action. Say you are suppose you are portraying a very positive bent of mind, very objective bent of mind, but then on a question of, say, women empowerment, you are saying that no, women should not go to work, women should stay at home, they should take care of the household chores. So that is a dissonance in your understanding, because that shows lack of integrity. Because on the one side you are saying you should be objective in your analysis, on the other side you are like trying to you can say put back the woman. Okay, so that is what I am trying to convey to you. In your interview you should always be mindful of the fact that your whatever you are thinking, and here action will not be any physical action, obviously it is the expression that you will use in the interview, the words that you will use in the interview. So your expression and your thoughts should have the harmony. Then you can be considered a person of integrity, and they are looking for that. If they find any dissonance in your thought and your expression, then that can be a ground for reduction of marks. So be careful while analyzing any issue, while forming any opinion. Is it the right thing to do, or is it the right approach that you believe you are taking? Okay, I hope I am able to convey the meaning properly. This is something you have to practice. Like you are trying to frame an opinion on any sensitive issue. So there your basic fundamentals will be checked. Okay, is he objective? Is he neutral? So those things, when they are reflected in your expression, then you can be considered a person of integrity. It's not like you are professing something else and practicing something else. That is totally unacceptable for a civil servant. Okay. Second value that is very essential, we touched on it yesterday in the previous video. It is impartiality and non-partisanship. In plain and simple terms, you can, if you want to assign a clause or a phrase to understand these two terms, it is decision making based on merit. So impartiality and non-partisanship can be summarized as when you are taking any decision based on merit. Okay, so that again is an important value that any aspiring civil servant should have. The third important value highlighted in the syllabus of ethics is objectivity. Objectivity means you should be free from biases. You should not have any prejudices, any preconceived notion about things. Whenever you are facing any new circumstance, you should be taking decisions based on objective analysis of the facts in hand, rather than forming any opinion beforehand and trying to come up with preconceived solutions. That is not how a civil servant should behave. His decision should be objective. Again, in an interview, you might be asked questions regarding any situations. Those situations will be objective situations. So your decision making essentially will contain certain knowledge that you have, but objective analysis of that situation is more important than your knowledge base. Of course, your knowledge base will supplement your analysis, but purely you should be aware and be respectful of the facts. That is what is you can say desirable of a civil servant. while taking any decision, he should be objective. So what is the point we are studying it here, or why are we analyzing this point here? It is because your expression in interview should have this element in your answers. Okay, these are the first three. Then you can club the 1, 2 and 3 in a group. Okay, I will explain to you why we are clubbing it in a group later. Now, fourth value that is given is dedication to public service. Okay, so again, this is a primary value. So, under any situation of dilemma, what will you prioritize? You will always prioritize public service over private service or your self-service. Okay, so this was very well depicted in how the government and the state machinery was very, you can say, apt and very strong in the fight against COVID, because any machinery that stood up, because we all know how certain private hospitals, they indulged in taking a lot of money from the patients. They were not actually depicting ideal behavior, but the conduct of civil servants, how they advanced the vaccination program, how they were very active day and night, it was really commendable. And what is the value that drives such action? It is dedication to public service. This is paramount. Your actually the foundational value, or you can say the primary ethical basis of civil servant is actually public service motive. This distinguishes civil servants from any other profession. Say for example, you take the private enterprise or the professional services. There especially talking about business enterprises, their primary goal or their primary intention is profit or efficiency or profit. Their primary concern will always be efficiency and profit. But when you are applying for a job in the civil services, your primary motive is not profit, your primary motive is public service. So that is what it distinguishes. So you might be asked a question on lateral entry. Lateral entry is has been in news. Okay, so you might be asked about your opinion. So in that regard, you have to not just sing praises of private sector, saying that they are efficient and blah blah blah, but you also should highlight the fact that what civil service demands. So if we are bringing specialists from private field to the government service, and we should also ensure that they adhere to this. Because when you are bringing lateral entrance, they are ingrained in a environment where efficiency and profit is prioritized. But when you are bringing them to public servant or public services, then this value also needs to be inculcated in some manner. So that is a point of contention for some, but again, we have to integrate, find a middle ground, because efficiency is something which is lacking in public service. So that is a different perspective or different arena altogether, but be mindful of this fact. While you are answering any question, your answers should be intended towards the betterment of public. Fifth is empathy. Such a beautiful word. Empathy is something which is very well shown by public servants when they are performing disaster rescue. They are responding to relief rescue operations. So in those situations when you are dealing with people, the vulnerable people, the victims, you have to show empathy. Now you are meeting say you are a police officer and you have come across somebody who is a victim of sexual harassment. So your approach to that person should have this value. That is what is emphasized. And again, that you should be checked in interview. Do you have this value? Sixth is basically, again, it is an extension of the earlier value only, tolerance and compassion for weaker section. It is, although it is self-explanatory, we very well know what is the meaning of tolerance. It is you are amenable to different views. You accept, you listen to others. And compassion, beautiful word in Assamese and Hindi also, it is karuna. It means you have that love, you have that sense of worry when somebody is suffering. So those things are required. Now this again will be very helpful in your answers. Now I told you need to club it in two groups. Now what did we learn? 1, 2 and 3 are integrity, impartiality and non-partisanship. This is objectivity. So this you can say is how governance used to be, how the traditional role of bureaucracy used to be. Because traditionally when we are speaking of a bureaucrat, he is more of a law implementer. Okay, so in a way we can say a bureaucrat is governing over the people. So what it essentially means is that there is a disconnect between the government and the people, and bureaucrat is just as an arm of the government, is trying to give certain you can say certain role which also involves the society and the people at large, but they are not connected. In this model, in the traditional idea of bureaucracy, the state is to be governed not with people but over people. So there is, what is missing? Participation is missing. We do not, in this model, we do not consider, traditional model, we do not consider that participation of people is an essential element of governance. But right now, what is the idea of governance that is in vogue at this moment? It is good governance. So what is good governance? Good governance means governing with the people. Here we are taking the people as a stakeholder of the process. So when do you think will governing with people be possible? It will be possible only if we adhere to the values number 4, 5 and 6. আমি যদি 4 নম্বৰ যেটো আছে ডেডিকেশন টু পাব্লিক সার্ভিস, এমপ্যাথি, টলারেন্স, কম্পেশন এইবিলাক নেদেখাও, তেতিয়াহ'লে আমি মানুহৰ পাৰ্টিচিপেশ্যনটো কেনেকৈ এনচিয়ৰ কৰিব পাৰিম? সো এই ট্ৰানজিশ্যনটো দেখা পাইছেনে এই শিফট ইন গভৰ্নেন্স মডেল, এণ্ড দ্যাট ইজ এসেঞ্চিয়েল টু দ্য ভেলিউজ দ্যাট we should have as a civil servant, and that is why it is in your syllabus. It shows a ট্ৰানজিশ্যন ইন গভৰ্নেন্স, যে প্ৰথমতে ট্ৰেডিশ্যনেলি আমাৰ অকল এইকেইটা ভেলু হ'লে হৈ যায়, যে প্ৰথম তিনিটা যিকেইটা আছিল, যে নিউট্ৰেলিটি বা ইম্পাৰ্চিয়েলিটি, ইণ্টিগ্ৰিটি, এতিয়াও সেইকেইটা লাগিবই, ফাউণ্ডেশ্যনেলি সেইকেইটা এতিয়াও লাগিবই, বাট ইন এডিশ্যন টু ডেট, বিকজ উই আৰ টকিং এবাউট গুড গভৰ্নেন্স, বিকজ উই আৰ টকিং এবাউট গভৰ্নিং উইথ পিপল, উই শুড এডহেয়াৰ টু the values of empathy, tolerance, compassion. Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you, importance of that part of syllabus in interview, and that part of syllabus will guide you not only framing your answer in with this thing in mind, but also it will help you in understanding how the bureaucrat of yesteryear is different from today and what is expected of you. Okay, so that is a brief that I wanted to share with you. The next topic of the day, actually it is an extension of what happened yesterday. I got certain feedback regarding the fact that there should be greater analysis or more analysis of those facts that we discussed in the Delhi conundrum, because there has been a very important Supreme Court judgment on that issue. We have had two full length, that is 5-judge Supreme Court bench judgments on the same issue in the last 5 years. It has been an unprecedented event. So of course that is something that should not be missed by the interview board. So that's why I am analyzing it a little bit further. So what is Article 239AA? It was obviously not in the original constitution. It was inserted, first fact, by 69th Constitutional Amendment Act 1991. Okay, and what was the purpose of this amendment? It was to give special status to an national capital territory of Delhi. Make no mistake, Delhi is still a union territory. Delhi is not a state. Delhi is still a union territory. So all those things apply to Delhi also. But the very fact that we have recognized it in a special way is indicative of the fact that it will be treated differently from other union territory. So center cannot directly administer it as a centrally administered territory, how the UTs are done. Okay, so there is a distinction. We will seek further when we analyze the Supreme Court verdicts on it and also come to the recent happenings. Originally, there was a demand for giving statehood, and you will be surprised, BJP was quite vocal about giving Delhi the status of a state, but now the things have turned. So originally it was recommended by S. Balakrishnan committee. These facts are not that important for interview, but it gives you a perspective of the facts of the issue. So this committee it came in 1987. And it suggested that no, Delhi should not be given statehood, but they should have a special status, special to other union territories. Like you can say it is an intermediate level between union territory and other states. So that is the basic facts. Okay. So in simple terms, if we analyze the provisions of Article 239AA, we can conclude that it has created two structures. The two structures are, there will be an administrator for Delhi, who we know as the Lieutenant Governor, LG, and then there will be a Legislative Assembly. There will be a Legislative Assembly. Of course, it is a directly elected Legislative Assembly for Delhi. But again, as we analyzed yesterday, this assembly will be different from any other state assembly. Why? Because it will not have the powers of land, powers of public order, powers of police of state list. Those things will be excluded from its legislative jurisdiction. Okay. So let us see the article. Now we'll come to the article later. So the Supreme Court has made couple of judgments, two judgments actually, very important. One in the year 2018 and one very recently, 2023, to be very specific, 11th of May 2023. The subject matter of 2018 was the power of Lieutenant Governor, and the subject matter of 2023 was the control over administrative services. In this case, Supreme Court said that LG does not enjoy any independent power. He is bound by the same provisions like the governor is bounded in other states. That means the LG has to either act on aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, or if he has any doubt, he can refer the matter to the President for further consultation. Okay, so LG does not enjoy independent power. Okay, this was the conclusion. Here, what did Supreme Court conclude very recently? The reaction to it was the ordinance which we saw passed like a couple of days back. Here, the Supreme Court said that the control of services is with the Delhi government. Okay, so this is the opinion of the Supreme Court. Now again the matter will go to the Supreme Court. The change that has been brought in by the latest act, this thing will go to the Supreme Court. There it will be dealt further. But it is a very interesting thing that for it has been such a sensitive matter that Article 145 Clause 3, which has the provision of constituting constitutional benches, which will be more than five or more than 5 judge bench. Generally, Supreme Court doesn't sit in such large bench. They are generally double, 2 judge bench or 3 judge bench. But here, in 5 years, we had 2 instances on the same issue, on the same overall theme of how the power relation will be between Delhi and the Delhi government and Union government. We had 2 Supreme Court rulings. So it's a very significant matter. Okay. Now, let us look at the article. So the real business end of the article is here. The business end of the article is here. Okay, if any provision of a law made by assembly respect to any matter is repugnant to any provision of law made by parliament, it essentially means that parliament has overriding power over any law made by Delhi assembly that is mentioned. Then you look at B. Nothing in subclause A derogate from powers of parliament to make laws with respect to any other union territory. What it essentially means is that it highlights the fact that Delhi still remains a union territory. So to BNC says that yes, parliament can make the law. So there is no, the fact that the law was passed in parliament a few days back, that is not an unconstitutional act as per 239 clause BNC. 3 clause subclause BNC. So parliament has the power, but again you have to look into other articles to understand it fully. Look at this. This is another illustrative article. So here it says in 239A clause 4 that Council of Ministers will aid and advise the LG and accept where he is to do it in his discretion, like the matters of police and public service, police, land and public order. But in case of difference of opinion, the governor, the LG shall refer it to president for decision. So what does it mean? LG does not enjoy independent power. The Supreme Court interpreted it in a manner that LG's power is limited by constitution itself. So the act of LG constituting some agency or some body to look into certain matter, that is not out of that is actually out of purview of what is given in the constitution. So we should always refer to the parent article, what it says. It helps us illustrate these things properly. So 239 AA. So it is clearly mentioned, there shall be a legislative assembly, and the seats in such assembly shall be filled by members chosen by direct election. So there will be direct election, and be very mindful of the fact that when you are having a body with people directly elected, it not only is a body, it is not only a mere body, but it is an elected body. It means it represents the will of the people of Delhi. So you have to respect the will, because it is at the foundation of democracy. Okay, all these things should be kept in mind. In fact, considering all this, Supreme Court Chief Justice, he opined that Article 239 AA, it represents a clear mandate given by the Constitution for what purpose? It has created an institutional design. There is a new institution for Delhi. There is an assembly, there is a LG. So had it been a very random event, it would have been applied for all union territories, but it was not done. So the purpose is that it is intended to extend the federal principles to Delhi. Okay, to extend the principles of participatory governments, to extend the principles of responsive government, responsible government, those things are intended to be extended to Delhi through Article 239A. So we should respect those things. So even if Parliament is in all its right and might to expand its power, but it also should be aware of the fact that there is an article which is special. Here it is given in the article we just saw. It is a special provision. Special provisions with respect to Delhi. It is not meant for other states. So you should respect something which is there in the constitution. So within that mandate, if you are doing it, that is different, because you cannot treat Delhi like any other union territory. In fact, the latest judgment that happened in May 11 this year only, just before the ordinance was brought in May 18, what the Supreme Court opined is that just like other states, National Capital Territory of Delhi represents the representative form of government. It is a representative form of government. There are people are representing some people. They are not merely nominated or somebody has appointed them. No, people has sent them. So you should respect the mandate of democracy. So when Union of India is trying to intervene or involve itself in administration of NCT, means National Capital Territory of Delhi, it is limited by the constitutional provisions. কনষ্টিটিউশ্যনত যিবিলাক আছে প্ৰভিজন সেইবিলাকে ৰেষ্ট্ৰিক্ট কৰে। এনেকুৱা নহয় যে এটা ক্লজত যে এইটোত আছে ক'ত গ'ল এইটোত যে আছে যে পাৰ্লিমেণ্ট আণ্ডাৰ কনষ্টিটিউশ্যন টু মেক লজ, যে ইউনিয়ন টেৰিটৰীৰ নিচিনাকৈ বেলেগকৈ ল বনাব পাৰিব, বাট ষ্টিল ইউ শুড বি কেয়াৰফুল, বিকজ দেৰ ইজ 3, there is 2, there is 1, এইবিলাকতো আছে ন, these are also part of the constitution. So you should read the constitution in harmony. এটা বস্তু লৈ পেলাই এটা ল বনাই দিম এনেকুৱা নহয়। So জুডিচিয়াৰীয়ে যেতিয়া যাব তেতিয়া বস্তুটো মানে প্ৰপাৰলি গোটেই বস্তুখিনি ঠিকে আছে নে সেইখিনি চাই পেলাই চাব, মানে ইণ্টিগ্ৰেট কৰি চাব, হাৰমনিয়াছ এপ্ৰ'চ এটাত চাব, ঠিক আছে। চ' আপোনালোকৰ যেতিয়া এইটো বিষয়ে অপিনিয়ন ফ্ৰেম কৰিব তেতিয়া অবভিয়াছলি এইটো কথা ক'ব যে অন দ্য ওৱান হেণ্ড Parliament is it is totally legal and totally it has the right to make law. Okay, it has overriding power over the Delhi Assembly. But at the same time, we should be also respectful of the fact that it is a people's assembly which is you are trying to override. So when you are trying to override a people's assembly, then there should be valid reasons. So that is what the crux of the matter is. Is it merely a power struggle, or is it there is actually inconveniences that, as highlighted by central government, that National Capital Territory needs to be governed in a very special manner because it performs special functions. So that is what we should look into it. Okay. That is it for me from this topic, and in the next session we will come with another topic. And I am Hiranyamala Soikia, Director LALANS IAS. Would like to invite you, if you have not yet subscribed or commented on our video, so I would like to hear from you how you are finding our discourse. So please do communicate with us and let us know how you are finding it. We will come with such exciting videos in the future. Thank you.